Welcome to Friday. Glad you could join today, whether it's in the morning or the afternoon or the evening for you. I know we span the globe with all of you. So thank you for being here. Today we have a wonderful artist. She's also a brand ambassador. You've probably seen her every single week. Ashley does a great job in answering questions, pinning up dot card information, etc. It's great to have her here. Ashley's from, well, she's living in Idaho. So Ashley, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I am super excited. Thank you for
Awesome. I remember
having me.
last time you did this, you showed us how to do animal eyes, etc. They were beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it'll be neat to see what you can do today. So
Yes. So last time I wasn't able to finish. So I have a goal today. I have a goal to finish.
it's okay not to finish. I think the wonderful thing from each one of you is when you show us insights that maybe we haven't thought of, or 30 years of how to do eyes in 30 minutes. That's all wonderful stuff. So Ethel, would you like to show the slideshow, or
Yes.
is there a slideshow? Okay.
Yeah, because Ashley has recent artworks.
Oh, awesome.
All right. So for those who have not followed Ashley, she is of course on Instagram. Let me just make sure that I hide this other stuff. She is of course on Instagram. Easy to locate. That's her name, Ashley Hawks Watercolor. And on Facebook as well. But I think Ashley has two accounts on Facebook. The other
Yes.
one is
Yeah.
Ashley
So
Hawks.
that's my personal account. My professional account is Ashley Hawks Watercolor.
Okay, just add watercolor after Hawks and
Yeah.
exclude the 1985.
Yes.
I could also paste it in the chat later.
Okay.
And yes, these are some of your recent artworks, Ashley. So you would like to share about these artworks?
Yeah,
We start.
I take pet portrait commissions from people. And so this was a commission. This dog's name is Chloe, and this one's really special. So a friend reached out and her boyfriend's dog had passed away and he was completely devastated. So she asked me to paint Chloe, and I really wanted to capture her for the guy who lost his dog. And she actually videoed him opening this and he cried. And it was just, I don't even know this guy, but I just felt like, oh, I love what I do. And I love being able to capture the essence of someone's pet because we know we love our pets.
This is beautiful.
Also, oh, so fun. I was on my way back from Italy. I was in a 12-hour layover at Heathrow in England, and I met a lady. We kind of passed the night together, and she asked me to paint her son's dog. So that's what that one is. It's so
Such
fun.
beautiful stories behind
It is
your work.
No, beautiful.
I love what I do. It's an absolute gift to be able to do this.
Did you paint it at Heathrow for her?
No, oh my goodness, no. I'm a kind of girl that I like my studio. I like my things in their place. If you've seen my studio, you know I have a little bit of OCD. But it's all good. Okay, this one I just did the other day, and I have a YouTube video tutorial on this. I wanted to branch out a little bit. You know, I love me some earth tones, but I was just feeling kind of stuck in a box, and I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna play with some color. So that one was super fun. And I was inspired by an artist on Instagram called Doggo Drawings. So if you guys want to look her up, she does these colorful pet portraits that are really fun. And this one, I used lunar black. So that entire Dalmatian, other than the eyes, and a little bit of ultramarine down there in the splashes at the bottom, but that's all lunar black. And it makes me think of Oreo, like a ice cream, like cookies and cream ice cream or something. It's so much fun. And I'm teaching a class tomorrow on that one as well.
The last image. Okay, there are two more.
Oh, and here's a cat. I've been painting so many dogs. I don't know why. I'm more of a dog person. But I have been trying to paint more cats. So for so July and August, in my workshops, we're focusing on dogs. But then probably September, we're going to start into cats. But here's a cat I did. I could not resist those eyes. If you know me at all, you know I love painting eyes. So that was a fun one.
Love
You
the
know, I'm a cat
cat.
person. I'm a cat person, and this is so beautiful.
So
Thank
am
you.
I. It's gorgeous.
Thank you. Yes, I have a couple cats myself, and they have a different personality than dogs, that's for sure.
And this
Definitely.
will be today's
Okay.
reference photo.
Yeah, so this little French bulldog, this is a reference photo from unsplash.com. They're usually all completely free, but right now they're doing Unsplash Plus. You know, everybody's going to the plus thing. And so I did subscribe to Unsplash Plus to get this reference photo, just so you're aware. But yeah, I want to give credit to the photographer on that, because that is such an amazing picture. But yeah, today I figured I might have more chance of getting closer to being done today if I'm only painting one eye. So I went ahead with this cute picture.
Yay.
Oh, that's great.
And the other day I Googled what was the most popular dog in the US, and I was surprised to find it was a French bulldog. That shocked me. I was surprised.
#1.
I really thought it was going to be Golden Doodle or something.
No, they replaced
They're so overbred.
Right, right, they are, but they're sure cute. Okay, so here's my dot card. As you see, a lot of earth tones here. I'm not going to talk a ton about this today. There's other videos where I've talked about it. I'm also doing a live stream on YouTube later, a couple hours after this one, where I will go over every one of these colors. So if you are interested in that, head over to my YouTube channel later today and you can watch me do that. But the colors I'm using today are from my dot card. So I keep a sketchbook for when I do a commission. I have different types of work. I do work for myself. All the work that I showed today is my pets, but I do everything. I'm always learning. I'm always growing. I could never just paint pets. That would probably kill me. But for right now, that's what I'm teaching, and that's what I love teaching. But I keep a sketchbook. So anytime that I'm about to do a commission, I sit down, I write it down, I write the date, and then I begin to play around with what colors I want to use. Something else that's important in that, let me turn this light off really quick so we can see this better. Okay. So I like to pull the image into Procreate and kind of pick my colors from there. Sometimes I'll even adjust the hue or the saturation. I like to change it up a little bit. But this one, this is how I pick my colors. So our eyes can play a lot of tricks on us. I'm going to talk about that today. But when you're looking at this cute little black nose, I'm going to use the eyedropper tool here. That's not black at all. That's blue. And so from there, I went, okay, I'm going to use King's Royal Blue for the highlights, or I can use Soda Light Genuine for the nose and just do a really light wash on the top. And so that's something that I like to think about before I even put paint to paper, is what colors do I want to use? And I like to plan it out ahead of time. And what a great reference to have. I mean, this book is just full, absolutely full of plans. And so when I'm going to paint a dog that's similar, like I've had a few dogs that looked similar, and I was able to go, okay, wait, what colors did I use on that? And so for today, this was kind of my plan. And so yeah, just a really good tip. And what a cool resource to have. My shelf is full of sketchbooks with this kind of stuff going on. So somebody can post my colors in the chat, I'm sure. But I will be using a handful of these today. Okay, let's get started. I want to paint. The paper I'm using today is Fabriano Artistico Hot Press Extra White, 140 pound. Sadly, I ran out of my favorite, which is this. This is the only piece I have left of my soft press paper from Fabriano. It's delicious paper. I'm serious, you guys. I just ordered more. It will be here soon. So there's no despair. There is hope ahead for us. But I do like their hot press paper. It has a little tooth to it. which is really nice. So I'm going to turn this light back on and see if that, I don't know. I think I like it without the light. What do you guys think?
Both
Okay.
are good, actually.
Okay, well, we'll just go without. I don't know why the light just irritates me a little bit, so we'll go without. All right, so these are some of the colors that I wanted to talk about just really quick. So a lot of people say you have some very similar colors on your dot card, two of which are transparent brown oxide and burnt umber. And you can almost use the transparent. So there's transparent brown, red, and yellow oxides. And for me, I've really replaced burnt umber with transparent brown oxide, but I wanted to keep both. Do you see the difference in the granulation? The transparent brown oxide has this kind of chunky granulation. I mean, how gorgeous is that? And then the burnt umber's granulation almost looks like leather to me. So I kept both of those on my dot card. This one's a little bit, I would say, warmer than the transparent brown. And I think I'm gonna go ahead. If you look at this eye, I love eyes, you guys. If you look at this eye, you can kind of see, I think a transparent brown oxide would be beautiful. So we've got all these variations and granulations in the eye. So that's what I'm going to use for the eye today. And then we'll be using these other colors. So I'm going to set those aside. I'm also going to use some hematite genuine today. If I can find where I made these little swatches like literally half hour ago. So forgive me if I've lost one. Oh, there it is. Hematite. It's going to come into play. I always start with the eyes. Why do I start with the eyes? Well, there's a couple reasons. First one is when the eye is, to me, the most important. That's your focal point. That's what's going to draw the viewer's eye to the painting. I want the eyes to be the most detailed. I want the eye to be kind of the, I mean, if you know your pet, let's say like if your pet has died and you send a picture off to somebody and they're doing a painting, you want that dog to be captured and it's in the eyes. And so that's really important to me to get the eye right. If I went ahead and painted this whole thing and saved the eye for last and the eye doesn't quite turn out, I've kind of, I wouldn't say wasted all that time because it's always, you're always learning, right? You're always, every botched painting has lessons and gifts in it. But I want to paint that eye first. And check this out. This is so encouraging when you paint those eyes and suddenly they pop out at you off the paper and the rest of it just flows. So that's why I love painting those eyes. I mean, how cool is that? You get to this point and you go, oh my goodness, that just came alive. So I start with small brushes on the eyes. I've got, these are my favorite for pet portraits. They're the silver black velvet. And I've got a 2 and a 6. And this is about as small as I go, size 2. If you want to talk about small brushes, you'll probably have to talk to Geo because that I don't go that small. But this one is fantastic for, we're going to be painting the dark lines. I'm just going to get started. Less talk, more paint. And guys, please ask questions because if you sit there quietly, I'm probably going to think that I lost connection or something.
Those
So-
silver velvet brushes are wonderful.
They're beautiful. They're very
Yeah,
beautiful.
they are. They're amazing.
And the thing is it's just a tool, right? It's just a tool. It's not gonna suddenly make you an amazing artist, but it's about the way you feel while you're using it. That's how I look at it. These brushes, I just love the way that it feels, the softness of it. And so that's something to keep in mind. Don't run out and buy every single artist brush thinking that it's going to make you suddenly a better artist. It comes with practice and it comes with making a lot of mistakes. So the first thing I always do is the colored part of the iris, anything light. And okay, I want to talk about highlights. Highlights are so important. But look at this. That highlight's not white. We're looking at the reflection of the sky in this dog's eye. And so that's why King's Royal Blue is on my dot card. Like that is the reason it is on there. Because most eye highlights are going to be a reflection of the sky. So I'm going to go ahead and start with that.
Ashley, what
size is this and what size do you normally work?
This is the size I normally work, so it's 11 by 14, quarter sheet. It is my preferred size. I have clients ask for smaller and I say, nope. I actually charge more if they want it smaller because I really enjoy this size. This is just for me. It's the size that I really enjoy. Having to go smaller and trying to do detail is tedious. Thanks for asking. And I am flat. I'm not tilted or anything, but towards the end of a painting, I might pick my board up and like let gravity play with the paint a little bit. But for the eyes and the nose, I try to keep it pretty tight. So I'm just making a light wash of that King's Royal Blue. And then I'm going to put some water on the eye, just where that highlight is. Now I'm constantly looking back and forth at my reference, so that I can make sure I'm getting it right. So I'm just putting water on those highlights where I'm going to drop that blue. And because it's the sky, there's clouds in it. So I don't want to do this perfect little blue. I just want it to be, you know, a little bit nuanced. That's one thing I talk about with my students is I like to push and pull the paint, but I never force it and I never fiddle with it too much. I put it down, let it dry. Even if there's a cauliflower or a blossom, I kind of just let it dry. And then I go back and layer. I like that about watercolor, and that's why I choose watercolor as my medium of choice. Okay, today, for the sake of time, I'm going to cheat and use my blow dryer tool. But normally I do like to try to let things dry naturally. I love the granulation. I love letting paint do its thing. So I've created a boundary. I've said to the watercolor, okay, I put this water here. This is your playground. And that's where the watercolor gets to play and do its crazy watercolor thing. But I've partnered with it, right? Watercolor can be wild and crazy, but we can partner with it and use it to our advantage. Okay. Working with the size 6, I'm going to go ahead and wet the rest of the eye. It is okay if you wet the part that's going to be black, because that can be layered over the top, no problem. So I'm focusing on next the colored part of the iris. So I'm wetting the whole rest of the eye. This is what we refer to as wet in wet. I had the funniest thought the other day. I thought, wait a minute, there's no such thing as dry on wet. Like, I guess you could use paint without adding much water and that would be dry on wet, but I just had the funniest thought. I'm like, wait, isn't paint always wet? So why do we say like wet on wet? Why don't we just say paint on wet? I don't know. I think funny things like that all the time. Okay, so I'm taking my transparent brown oxide and I'm gonna go ahead and kind of outline and let it play. And as I said, up here, there's gonna be black. So it's okay that I'm putting the brown there. We're gonna layer. I've never painted this dog before. This is my first time attempting this specific dog, so anything could happen. Okay. The cool part about watercolor is you can layer. So a lot of times you'll put paint down and it dries and you go, wait a minute, that's way too light. That's okay. It's better to go too light than go way too dark, way too quick and not be able to lift it. And then I'm dropping water in this. I love cauliflowers and blossoms. If you don't, you probably don't want to do this. Just
Ashley,
saying.
we have a question. Letty's audio is not working very well. And her question is, in your color swatch sketchbook, what was the watercolor paper type? What is the name of the swatch
Oh,
sketchbook?
yeah.
Thanks.
The sketchbook is just a inexpensive Arteza brand sketchbook. Yeah, so for my swatch sketchbooks, I just go really cheap. I don't really want to waste good paper. It's not even cotton, because all I'm doing is swatching. Thanks for asking.
And then we have another, oh, maybe, can you hear me with the
Yes,
dryer
yes,
going
you're
on?
good. Yeah,
we have
you're good.
another question going from Letty again, asking, oh, I think I just lost it. Ashley, are these pencil lines darker than you would normally work?
Great question. Yes, they are. Normally, I take my kneaded eraser that I keep here, and I will just like roll it across and get rid of, I don't want a lot of dark lines. So that's such a great question. I did leave them quite dark today for you guys so that you could see. And also I wanted to make a small point specifically for Stella because I know she's watching. I really think it's important to learn how to draw and to know how to sketch. This one I did trace for today, but it is important, and tracing's fine. It's totally okay when you're learning and whatnot, but I think it's important to know how to draw. And so I always like to mention that. With my classes, I always send them a line drawing, like a sketch that they can go ahead and get down, because I'm not teaching sketching, I'm teaching watercolor. And so we try not to spend any time on that. But I just want to mention that. I think that knowing how to draw is really important.
Thank you, Ashley.
You're welcome. I always think of you, Stella. Every time I'm like tracing something, I'm like, oh, Stella wouldn't like this.
No, that's okay, tracing. But because it's fast, but knowing how to draw, because in order to see, you have to draw.
Yes.
Right.
So many
Sure.
people look but do not see. So drawing is seeing and teaches you a lot.
It's lovely. I've been working on my drawing practice through doing paintings in my sketchbook. And so when we're watching a movie at night as a family, I will paint in my sketchbook whatever's on the coffee table. I have done beautiful paintings of our remote control and my son's bag of candy and just anything that I see. And I'm telling you, when you sketch every day, it really grows quickly. That ability and that skill develops really quickly. Okay, sorry, I had to take a drink of water. I went ahead and started putting in a little more of that transparent brown oxide while it was still just slightly damp. The way that I like to get rid of hard lines is just to take a brush and clean it off and make sure it's just a little bit damp, and you can feather it, push, pull, feather, to kind of soften up any lines that are too hard. But I like to go very gentle and delicate because I want the watercolor to look natural. I don't want it to look contrived or like I'm trying too hard. You just know when you've overworked a painting. You just know it loses that freshness. So, yeah, I like to try to maintain that freshness if I can. Okay, I'm going even darker. I'm looking at my reference and I'm seeing that I just need to keep going darker. And this eye has so many like cool things about it. I think I posted the reference in the chat. I don't know if Ethel has posted that again since everyone joined. But it's really fun to be able to look at my reference that I'm working from so that you can go, okay, I see what she's doing there. I always like to see when I'm taking a class or watching a YouTube video, I always want to see the reference photo because I don't understand what they're going for unless I'm seeing it. Okay, gonna dry that.
Reference photo is posted again in the chat.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, I'm ready to get
Ashley?
some, yeah, go
We
ahead.
have a question also asking, do you sometimes use oxgall or similar when painting on hot pressed paper? I find it dries tools fast for me.
No, it's a great question. I have not done that. I feel like hot press paper dries really quickly, almost too quickly sometimes. So that's good to know. So now I wanted to talk about neutral tint. It is like I run through neutral tint so fast because I use it as my black. And also I like to warm it up sometimes. I don't want to leave it. Neutral tint almost has a purple quality to it. I don't know if you can see it here on my palette, but it almost has a purpley tint. And so what you can do, if you want to make it more of a neutral black, you can mix it with a brown. So I can take some of that transparent brown oxide and mix with the neutral tint. I can do it with Van Dyke brown. I can do it with burnt umber. And I can kind of manipulate the neutral tint to where I want it. So that's just a little tip. But I'm going in with this size 2 brush with the dark lines. I'm a little shaky today. And I'm just gonna go ahead and outline the eye. Like I said, I'm working on hot press. I'm more used to the soft press. It's not actually a massive difference, but it definitely has a learning curve to it, I would say.
Ashley, where did you study portraiture, or did you learn this in your own studies? And if so, are there any good resources that you suggest? I believe you said you're starting tutorials now.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I am self-taught. I have been an artist since I was like 2 years old. My mom said that she couldn't pry me away from the kitchen table. I was always painting or drawing or doing something. Um, and so I do have kind of a natural tendency towards art. I took every available art class throughout high school. I think I started in 2019. I started just taking classes, any class, any YouTube video, anything I could get my hands on. Like I can't speak enough about how powerful the internet is today. And like, I don't understand when people say they're bored. If you have access to the internet, like how could you, when my kids are like, I'm bored, I'm like, oh my goodness, you guys, you could go get a degree for free these days. So yeah, the power of taking classes, do a Skillshare. Honestly, like I did a 1 month free trial of Skillshare and leveled up completely just by taking every class I could get my hands on. And then yes, I am now teaching workshops. I do one every Wednesday. Um, you can go to my website, Ashley Hawks Studio, and you can find the link to my workshops. And we do a different animal every week.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, so now I'm just darkening. I'm leaving. I left. You can see I left some white spots. They're not actually white. They're just a little bit lighter. So I like to try to make sure that I'm not going flat, and that's neutral tint. So I'm going to take some clean water and just kind of like play with that a little bit, and we'll just work those in so that we maintain highlights. I used to work with masking fluid quite a bit. I used to mask off all the highlights on the eyes and the nose and everything. And after a time, I've just felt like that was more of a nuisance than anything. And so I've stopped using masking fluid, and I now just go around the highlights. If I lose a highlight, I'm not afraid to use an opaque white medium. I really like Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White because it's water-based. And I can thin it down with water. I can make it thicker. I like it for whiskers, and I like it for if I lose any highlights anywhere. It's a great product for that. But you have to keep in mind if you're entering your work into a gallery or something, some of them have rules around what you can and can't use with watercolor. So just keep that in mind. I'm just going to keep darkening that pupil there.
Ashley, you said you use hot press or soft press. I guess I don't know what soft press is.
Yeah, so it's kind of rare. It's made by Fabriano Artistico, and they're the only
Ah,
company who makes it.
okay.
And it's just got this like texture. I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like working on like a cloth or I
Interesting.
just
Oh,
you really just have to try it.
yeah.
I buy mine at Jerry's Artorama. I think you can
Uh-huh.
get it from Cheap Joe's. You can get it from I looked on Blick yesterday and couldn't find it, but I've seen it on Blick before. And you can only buy it in sheets.
And so what do you find the difference in working with hot press as to cold press?
So hot press just doesn't have as much texture at all.
Yeah,
I
I
will
knew
say
that.
that that's really the biggest difference, and that it dries quicker.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Yeah, it does. I have found. And you're not fighting with those hills and valleys like you are with
Oh,
a cold press. So the cold press,
uh-huh.
you're not going to be able to get as smooth of lines working on a cold
Oh,
press because of those hills
interesting.
and valleys.
I'll have
Yeah.
to try the hot press. I haven't tried that yet. Thanks.
Yeah. I tell everybody about it. It's my absolute favorite. But like I said, paper is just another tool. And you just have to do what feels like what feels good to paint on, right? Like you're gonna look at my painting and go, oh, it's got to be the paper. That's how she's successful. It's the paper. Like it's just another tool. And you really you just after you play with certain things, you start to learn what you like and what feels good and what makes you happy. Okay, I'm looking at my reference photo and I'm seeing around the pupil, there's some dark, so I'm gonna keep going. And I normally work really fast. So I'm trying not to go too fast for you guys, but I can get an entire pet portrait done in about, an hour and a half, 2 hours now, where it used to take me like a week because I was walking away out of frustration and then like wanting to burn it. And my husband is my best, honestly. Like, he will look at me and be like, Ash, you got this. Get back in there and you're gonna finish it and you're gonna do a good job because you always do. And I'm grateful for him for pushing me because there's been so many times I've had paintings where I'm like, I can't recover it. I've ruined it. What have I done? And he's like, no, you've got this. We all needed Dave in our life. I always say that. Everyone needs a Dave.
Ashley, thanks for sharing the humanity of that experience.
You bet. Okay, I've got some hard lines, so now I'm just gonna take my clean, damp brush and I'm gonna just play with those and just add, I'm actually adding little tiny droplets of water, but that's how I get that like more natural look. A lot of people will do like perfectly even layers and layers and layers, and that's great. But for what I'm trying to achieve, I don't want perfectly smooth layers. I want it to have little nuances and little, you know what I mean? Just little things that make it look natural.
It's amazing. It has a mirror effect. It's magic. You are
Thank
so
you.
good at the detail.
You, I love this.
Yeah.
Anybody can do this.
We have a fun comment from Penny on Facebook saying, Dave is
Oh,
lucky to have such a lady.
oh, thank you, Penny. I love Penny. I got to meet her in Italy and she's my favorite and I want to adopt her. So Penny, can I adopt you? Let me know. She's the best. And yeah, Dave's amazing. Oh my gosh. Everybody should have someone who's their cheerleader. I don't know if I'd be as far along as I am without him.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm Julie.
Yes.
I'm visiting in California, but I live in Italy. I was just wondering where you went. I live near Bergamo, near Milano.
Oh, very cool. So I went to Bologna for the Fabriano and Aquarello. Oh my gosh. And then I went on painting holiday and we were in the Marche region.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was early spring and the poppies were in full bloom. It was very
Oh, yeah.
beautiful.
Copies are beautiful.
Hey, I'm just darkening. That's the one thing about watercolor. You just sometimes have to keep darkening and darkening and darkening because it just takes a while to get the depth that you want. The highlights are so important because that's what's going to give it that 3D effect. And it's really important to think about light. And I have a photography background, and so that's something that has really benefited my watercolor practice is understanding light. Where's the light coming from? What's the temperature of the light? I've been as a commission artist, I will get asked to do a dog and I don't say yes at first. I always say, yeah, shoot me some pictures and I will tell you if I can do it. Because I have gotten some really rough pictures and I really couldn't do a whole lot with it. And so I always make sure the pictures are good, but I can edit them. I will take them into Procreate and I can choose where the light's coming from. I can say, all right, where's the light coming from? I can go ahead and add highlights in the eye. And so that's just something to think about if you are someone who wants to start doing pet portrait commissions. Like right now, I'm working from a professional photo, easy peasy, right? But when you are getting pictures someone took with their cell phone, it's a lot different. So it's something you have to keep in mind.
Well, Ashley, I think your animal eyes just make it look like you could just look into the animal's soul. They're so beautiful.
Thank you so much. I love this, and anybody can do this. I've taught kids age 12 to 18, and they blew my mind. I was kind of dumbing it down for them, and I was thinking, well, I don't know. I don't want them to be disappointed if they can't do what I'm doing. And every one of those kids was able to do the most amazing things. And so anybody can do this. It's just shapes, right? We're just looking at little shapes like an eye. Our brain is going to trick us. Our brain's going to say it's round.
Right.
But let's turn it upside down.
Yeah.
That's not round at all. That's not round at all. And then we're looking at shapes, right? Look at all these shapes.
Yeah.
So if you can squint your eyes at your reference, squint your eyes at your own painting, I find that helps a lot. That's a trick that I teach my students is squint your eyes at it. If you don't know what to do next, squint your eyes at it because something will pop out.
Actually, I have a question. What is Procreate? Is that an app or something? You said
Well,
Procreate?
Yeah, Procreate is an app. And you can use it on an iPhone. They have like a pocket edition. It's not expensive. I think I paid $10 for it a couple years ago, and it's an editing app. And any app though with an eyedropper tool can do this. So like you can look at what colors you want to use, like up here in the ear, and then you can pull up this. You can see what temperature it's leaning to. So any editing program can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then something that I like to be able to do, especially in teaching, is I can draw on it. And I can kind of show people like, okay, this is what we're going to do first. We're going to work on this or whatever, if that makes sense. Now I've drawn on this poor doggy. I'm sorry, doggy. I didn't mean to draw on you. Yeah. So I'm liking it, but I do see an area in the eye that I just want to lift. I feel like I went a little dark and I want to lift. So it is still a little bit wet right there, but I'm gonna go ahead and still lift. So I'm gonna take my paintbrush that's just damp and I'm gonna run it along here. And I'm gonna take a cloth. I don't use paper towels anymore. I used to. I'm just using cloth napkins. They're the best. And I have not had to use paper towels. So head on over to Home Goods or somewhere like that and get yourself some cloth napkins. They're amazing. I wash them by hand because I don't want fabric softener on them because that repels water. So yeah, that was how I eliminated paper towels.
My mom has a closet full of napkins that she doesn't know what to do with. So now I know what to do with them.
Oh, now you know. Hopefully that won't be. My sister-in-law gave me these and she still doesn't know what I'm using them for. And I like, every time she comes over, I'm like, hide the cloth napkins.
No, she really wants to get rid of them, so I'll take some with me back home.
Well, there you go.
I find you can pick some up at the thrift store that are
Sure,
very nice and already soft,
Yes.
and then you don't have the emotional guilt.
I love it. Oh, yeah. That's a great idea because it's also repurposing, which I'm huge into repurposing and recycling. Okay, now I'm going to look at the white part of the eye, and I'll tell you what, the white part's never white. And I like to use, it's usually kind of a bluish gray. Or sometimes if you've got a bloodshot dog, a lot of like pugs and stuff, their eyes will be bloodshot. I'll use Potter's pink. But for this, I'm going to just make a watery wash of, I'll just take some of my neutral tint, or like I've already got neutral tint and King's Royal Blue on here. So I can just make like a dirty, watery, I just make dirty water basically that looks kind of bluish. So I take my dirty water and I put it in the white part of the eye. So there's a tip for you. Dirty water is great for the white part of the eye.
Ashley, did you say that you traced this reference photo?
I did trace this one.
Can you tell me the process for doing that?
The process that I use is, have you ever heard of graphite transfer paper?
I have.
Okay, so that's one that I use quite often. You have to be careful because sometimes the graphite won't lift after. So you have to be really careful. I have a video on my YouTube with all the different methods you can use for doing that. Because when I do my workshops, I always send a line drawing about a week in advance, and I say, "Okay, get your sketch ready because we are not going to be talking about drawing today." And so I always send my students the video about how to get your sketch on the paper if you're not going to draw it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's great. I'll check that out. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm going in with my neutral tint, and I'm not completely dry yet. You can kind of see that bled a little bit. I'm not worried about it. I'm just looking at the lower lid water line.
You have 17 minutes, darling. Just
Okay, I better work, huh? Less talky, more worky. Okay, well, that eye was the most important part, and I think I'm going to call that part good. And then I want to teach nose. Noses are fun. So I'm going to start with the dark part. It's kind of counterintuitive. A lot of people like to start with the light, but once I get my darks in there, I feel a lot more confident to move forward with the highlights. So I'm gonna grab some Soda Light, Genuine, Letty's favorite color. And I'm taking my size 6 and I'm going in with thick paint and I'm going right on into the nostril.
Can I use Payne's Gray?
Yes, Payne's Gray is such a great dog nose color. Absolutely. Neutral tint, Payne's Gray, Soda Light. It just depends on what temperature you're going for and what you want your granulation to look like. Granulating colors on a dog's nose, a cat's nose are perfect because they often have that like pebbly texture that you want to achieve. So I'm actually going to just outline it. And that is okay because I'm going to soften those lines here in a second. And you got to work fast because you don't want these lines to dry and then be like a hard line. I can't believe I only have 17 minutes. Like time flies when you're talking everyone's ears off.
All good talking, Ashley. You've
Oh,
taught us
good.
so much already. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, this is such a fun thing to do, and anybody can do it. I had a student the other day that she said that she wasn't super happy with her painting, but she set it down on the table. She was kind of like, well, it was good, you know, set it down on the table, went and did something in the other room, and then she came back in and went, whoa. Like she saw her painting on the table and she was like, whoa, I did that. And I loved getting that email because that was like, yes, that's what it's about.
Does any of this translate to people eyes?
Absolutely, every bit of it. The only difference between pet portraits and humans is the skin is different. So you're working with skin instead of fur. That's it. And I have been so scared of portraits on humans for so long. And then I tried it and it wasn't that bad. I was like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah. Thank you.
But
I thought that was probably
yeah,
true. But
absolutely. It's just shapes, like I said, just shapes. I took a portrait class in Italy from Lorena Massa, our own Lorena. And it was, mine turned out horrible. And I just laughed. I couldn't stop laughing. And now when I show it to people, we just sit and laugh because it was so bad. But Lorena is not her fault. It was my own. I think I was just having such a good time chatting with my friends and I wasn't in the game, but oh my gosh. Lorena's an amazing teacher. But yeah, my
Ashley,
portrait, yeah.
did you learn a lot from it?
Oh my gosh, yes. Sure thing. That's the important thing, isn't it? It's not about the outcome, it's about what we learn in the process. So I'm just kind of stippling. I'm just kind of softening lines and stippling. Always looking at the reference. And honestly, the fur to me is the easiest part because as long as you get your values right, you don't have to paint each hair. And that's the thing that people often think they have to get all detailed with the fur, but you don't. You really just need to make sure you get your values, your darks and your lights and everything, and keep those highlights going. And the fur is easy. But I don't think I'm going to finish today, but I do have YouTube videos on how I do the fur. And so you guys can check those out if you are interested. Yeah, I can do this really fast. I'm at the point where I can do one of these in hour and a half,
Wow.
but that's after, it's after practice. It took me ages before when I first started.
My first people portrait, oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. No,
Oh,
you go.
my first people portrait, I messed up the eye so bad because I kept scrubbing it out. So I finally just painted an eye patch over the eye.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, that's a way to go. You're like, that was intentional. Totally. Over here on this nostril, it's in shadow. And so I'm just trying to look at shapes. What I'm looking at here on the reference is it's just like, it's dark. So I'm not going to worry about it too much. And right now I know it looks a little bit funny, but we're going to soften these lines. This whole section of muzzle is bluish looking. So I'm going to just take my color. Okay. I'm going to try to wrap up this nose a little bit and show you a little bit of fur. I'm really excited about the hematite because I want to show how I use it in this context. So we'll leave that nose alone. I would probably let it dry and do one more layer.
What is hematite?
Oh, lovely. Hematite Genuine is a Primatech color. It's magnetic. And this is what it looks like. It's beautiful. And I was just looking at the dog and thinking, you know what? I can take some Hematite Genuine and put it here on my palette. When I work in fur, I'm grabbing my biggest brush. So this isn't my biggest brush. This is a size 12. I have been using this bad boy for pet portraits because I'm less likely to mess around with tiny details when I'm using something like this. This is EO brand from Korea, and they are not yet available in the US, but I just talked to the owner of the company and he said that he is working on making them available. They are amazing brushes. Okay, I want to warm up my hematite just a little. So I'm going to take some transparent yellow oxide and mix it with that hematite because it just needs to be a little warmer. So let me show you. I've warmed it up just a touch. I could warm it up even more. See that? And I'm looking at the highlights on the dog, and I'm going to go ahead and just start up here on the head. Normally, I like to work around the eye next, but for the sake of time, I want to show you how I'm going to achieve this. This is the biggest highlight on the dog, and so I want to put that in first. Lightest colors first. If you want to take a look at the reference, you can kind of understand what I'm going for here. I like to let the paint do its thing, let it kind of dance and play. And I really love lost and found edges. What that means is some of your edges are going to be a hard line and some of them are going to be soft and blurred. And that's one of the things that we love about watercolor. So now I just took
Actually,
some.
you're working just at the top of off the screen.
Am I? Thank you for
Yep.
telling me. There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, great feedback. Thank you for that. So around the eye, I'm going to do Payne's Gray. You can also work with neutral tint, any of those, and just depends on the mood I'm in and like the temperature I'm going for with the painting, what kind of granulation that I want. Those are all things I take into account when I choose which color to put where. And I think we all have like our favorite colors that we lean towards. And they're our friends and we know them really well. We know how they behave. We know we can take that friend to the party and that they're gonna not embarrass us. So it's important to get to know your colors. So you see that? Just putting it, Payne's Gray is so pretty.
Ashley, I like seeing the development of the portrait, how you have the browner warm eye and then the cooler Payne's Gray and then the warmer hematite and the cooler soda light back and forth, back and forth. And I think it is a strength and brings the portrait to life.
Oh, thank you. That is what we're going for, isn't it? I think I really like the dichotomy you get between the cool and the warm. And that's why I often will use Payne's Gray on a dog nose, even if the dog is a tan dog. I will use like a transparent yellow oxide for the fur, and then I'll go in with the Payne's Gray for the nose. And it is just a beautiful balance that is achieved there. So
You have such amazing control. Your grip on your paintbrush is fascinating. It seems like you should be smearing because the angle that we're looking at,
yeah,
are you like a quarter inch away from the
yeah,
paper?
yeah. I mean,
Such control.
I've been told I hold it weird, but that's just, you got to do what works for your anatomy. I have really weird long hands. Um, and that is what works for me.
Time check, 5 minutes.
Thank you. So now I'm just continuing to look at the reference and I'm putting in some dark lines here. And the cool part is, like, I am getting a hard line, and that's okay. That's one of the things we need to learn in watercolor is, when is a hard line appropriate and when does it need to be blurred? And that is the only way you can get that is by doing it. It's just practice. I'm really excited to finish this one. So I know I'm not going to finish it with you guys, but I will post it in my socials. And
We
I'll
have a
send
quick we have a quick question on Facebook from Kathy asking, what is the palette material?
Oh, this is a tile from Home Depot. I
Nice.
like it because I don't know if it's ceramic or porcelain. I don't really understand the difference, but it was like $1, and it has just been really good for my online workshops because people can see. I think it's important for people to see how much water I'm adding. And then to watch mixing. Mixing is just, I think it's important for people to see mixing and to start doing it themselves. But the palette I'm working with is this. It's the Magello Bulletproof something or other. And this is my dot card, basically right here. I also use a big ceramic Stephen Quiller wheel. I think that's what it's called. The Quiller wheel palette, which is like my go-to studio palette. So now I'm looking at the eye and I notice we're needing to darken up here around the eye. And the funny thing is, when you want a dog's expression, this is what's going to be the most important. What are their little eyebrows doing? You've got to be able to get that right. So I'm going to need it to be darker right there, because that's where you get the dog's expression, or the cat or horse or whatever you're painting. They do have eyebrows, and their eyebrows are what gives them that very sweet expression that they have. Looking mad now. He's mad. Woo! We don't want him to be mad. Hopefully this was helpful for somebody, and that it gives you the just a little boost you need to maybe try this. It is so fun. And you don't need to be scared, because if you screw it up and it doesn't turn out, you still learn something. See how I'm leaving the highlight around the eye here, where it's, if you look at the reference, it's shining and it's blue. It's like a blue tint. So I'm trying to leave that as I darken the areas around it. And I can soften lines if I need. Just take your brush and just kind of scrub a little bit. He's got this whole thing going here. And the reason I like hematite for fur is because look at this. Look at that right there. Hematite gives you that. So like if I take, let's see, I take that, this is just pure hematite, not mixed with anything. And I put that there. And then I take my clean brush and I fuzz it out, feather it out.
Amazing, amazing.
Thank you. I really had high hopes today, guys. I was gonna finish, but that's not what's important. Hopefully, somebody learned something. That's all that matters.
The chat is so full of acknowledgement of your skill and how alive he looks, and people are saying they wish it was 3 hours long so they could see. But in your tutorials, you go start to finish, right? Through the whole
Yep,
pup.
we do. We finish. I am really proud of that fact that we've been able to start to finish in 2 hours. So my workshops are 2 hours long, and it's live. It's with me. I can look at what you're doing if you want, and you can ask questions. It's very powerful, and people level up really quickly. Being able to have someone to be there with them, mentoring them live, there's just, oh, and it's such a fun thing to do, to sit and hang out. So
Wonderful work.
That's great. Thank you so much, Ashley. It's beautiful.
thank you.
I love to watch you. I'm sorry I missed the part, but I will watch the replay. It's lovely, really lovely.
Thank
Very
you,
nice.
Angela.
Wonderful, Ashley.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley.
Thank
We'll
you,
be able to
Leslie.
post the finished result.
Absolutely.
I love those eyes and the
I know
nose
that.
too. I love those
Yeah.
noses.
So alive.
So alive. Yes, so alive.
Beautiful, beautiful work, Ashley.
Thank you, guys.
Super work,
Great.
super work.
Everybody.
That was amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, did you notice it, Ashley? Julie painted along.
Oh, really?
Yeah, look at that. Let's put it in spotlight.
I
There.
did too. There. Oh my
Oh.
goodness. I like that.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
And Anna too. There,
I
let's
did
just
too.
add it.
Yes.
Anna,
Oh,
wow.
Anna.
Anna Candela,
Oh my
bravo.
gosh, you guys are awesome.
Thank you, Ashley. It was great.
Good job.
And there's my
That was
bingo, all
wonderful.
colors I got from you. So there's a bingo
I
for
love
today.
it. Thank
Thank
you
you,
for sharing
Ashley.
that. Yes, absolutely.
It was
Have a
great,
wonderful
Ashley.
weekend,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you
for all of your
everybody.
comments.